Well, hello students. Hope you're doing well as you continue to shelter and try to stay healthy and try to keep from being exposed to the virus. The purpose of this video is to provide you with information regarding the Extra Credit Project. By now you have taken test 4 and you're in a position to decide whether or not you want to participate in the Extra Credit Project. This is purely optional. Let me give you the fact pattern. First off, though, it's the Extra Credit Project is an essay. It's going to be due on April 30th, and you'll provide it to me through Canvas, although I'm not exactly sure how, but we'll figure that out. You'll turn in the assignment. In any event, you'll take down the notes here from this explanation and write an essay. There's no guidelines, there's no limitations as far as how long you want the essay project to be. However, I will say that I've seen various essay extra credit projects that are very, very long, very verbose, and are completely unorganized and say nothing. And I've had other essay answers that are very well crafted, very succinct, address all the issues and thoroughly explain and analyze them in half the amount of space and time that other essays do. So it's very important that you think in a very organized fashion and present your thoughts in an organized way, as opposed to just vomiting on the page and throwing out a bunch of stuff in an unorganized fashion. Lead me by the nose as if I don't know any of this and explain it to me. That's the best way I can do it. Explain it to you. And then also use the IRAC method, issue, rule, application, conclusion, which we'll talk about at the end as well. So here's the fact pattern. Listen up. In January of 2020, your client, and you're an attorney, your client enters into an oral contract with a local state-run hospital. The contract calls for cleaning services to be provided from March of 2020 to March of 2021. In February, your client sends a crew to the hospital to review and confirm that the cleaning procedures that they have in mind are within the hospital protocols. The crew meets with the hospital administrator. The administrator informs the crew that due to the recent developments involving the COVID-19 virus, it will be necessary for your client to provide its own N95 masks as well as their own latex gloves. Further, the administrator ordered that your client will be required to provide more extensive cleaning of all surfaces touched by patients and personnel. However, the hospital is not willing to pay extra for these services and will not reimburse your client for the N95 masks and the latex gloves. At the meeting, the hospital administrator also commented on the Christian fish symbol that's stitched on the workers' coveralls above their name tags. He said that the logos must be removed from the uniforms or covered so as not to be seen by others. After receiving the report from the crew, your client calls several medical supply companies and discovers that there are no N95 masks or latex gloves available. They are all on back order for the next 6 months, not out there at all. Your client then calls the hospital administrator and proposes that the parties enter into a new contract with revised terms and prices given the changing developments. Your client also informs the administrator about the inability to purchase masks and gloves and comments on the fish that has to be removed or covered above the uniforms and inquires as to why that's necessary. The hospital administrator becomes very angry. He states that he expects your client to provide all the services for the amount previously negotiated despite the changes in circumstances. He points out that the oral contract provides for cleaning services, but your client never specified in the oral contract exactly what those services would be. It's a bit vague. The administrator then ended the telephone conversation with the following quote, "Actually, I don't like your holier than thou attitude. You Christians are all alike. Either perform all the services I described and lose the fish on your uniforms, or I will sue you for breach of contract. Bottom line, you'll do it my way or don't even bother to show up in March. End quote. In a panic, your client calls you for advice. Number one, what legal issues are presented in this fact pattern? What are we dealing with? Things like undue influence, things like quasi-contract, things like that. What are the issues that we're dealing with? Number two, what potential lawsuits, civil causes of action, or lawsuits does your client have, or can your client file against the hospital? Three, what damages and or remedies are available to your client? Four, what defenses does the hospital have against your client? Potential defenses. Five, what potential civil causes of action, if any, does the hospital have against your client? And six, what defenses could your client use against the hospital? Okay, so again, a lot of ground to cover. But it all starts with listing all of the issues. That's going to be your outline. That's going to be your roadmap, because you're going to say the issues are boom, 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 boom. Well, let's start with the first issue of undue influence. Using the IRAC method, undue influence is that's issue, and the rule that applies to undue influence. That's undue influence. And in the application of this case, we can see that there's undue influence in And potentially I conclude that as a result of this, it will be possible for us to argue or seek damages for this. So issue, rule, application, conclusion with each and every issue that you can identify in this fact pattern. Not only the issues that help your client, but also issues that will be used as a defense by the hospital and vice versa. Issues that the hospital might use to sue your client and the defenses your client might use against the hospital. So that pretty much sums it up. If you have any questions regarding this fact pattern or the essay, feel free to email me at my email at my office or the on-campus email. And again, you have until April 30th, which is the end of technically our last class day that we have to submit this. So it gives you a nice 2 weeks to think about this and type this all out and send it to me via Canvas. And once I further explore how that's going to happen or how you'll be able to do that, you probably know better than I do, then I'll let you know in an announcement. But again, any questions, send me an email at my work email or my office email. Otherwise, good luck on the extra credit project, and hope you did well on test number 4.